Hey YouTubers, it's me, Lonnie Clark, That's for Art, and I am going to read The New Nuclear Danger by Dr. Helen Caldicott. And I'm going to read you, I've decided whenever I start a new reading, I'm going to read the last chapter to kind of refresh us from where we were. Get a little sip of water. And we're good to go. Lieberman also supported loan guarantee programs for countries buying American weapons, and he voted against the arms sale the arms sale code of conduct. Lieberman voted against the arms sale code of conduct, legislation that prevents weapons from being sold to countries where poor human rights records or countries that may be working on developing nuclear weapons. Sorry, Tarzan. My cat wants me to play with him. Hold on. He voted consistently against initiatives to reduce the U.S. military budget, and he supported programs to prevent transfer of money from military to domestic programs. For the past 5 years, he served as the chairman of the pro-military Democratic Leadership Council with a corporate-friendly, pro-military, fiscally conservative agenda. Although Lieberman was vocal about religion and personal behavior during the campaign, as William Huntberg commented, the Democratic ticket demonstrated a failure of public ethics, not private morality. New subtitle, To the Victor Goes the Spoils. To give some feel for how Lockheed Martin has benefited through lobbying, revolving door policies, public donations, etc., here's a short list of the company's nuclear weapons-related contracts. Wow. Lockheed Martin currently produces the Trident 11 submarine-launched ballistic missile armed with 8 100-kiloton or 475 kiloton hydrogen bombs. What? 8 kiloton or 475 kiloton hydrogen bombs? As a reference, the Hiroshima bomb was the equivalent to 13 kilotons of TNT. Each Trident submarine is equipped with 24 of these missiles. 18 Trident subs together contain killing power 3 times the threshold for nuclear winter. Each 18 Trident subs together contain the killing power 3 times the threshold for nuclear winter. Glide silently beneath the oceans of the world, invisible to all, a subliminal global holocaust machine. Thank you, Dr. Caldicott. Wow. Each Trident submarine is equipped with 24 of these missiles. 18 Trident subs together contain killing power 3 times the threshold for nuclear winter. Glide gently beneath the oceans of the world, invisible to all, a subliminal global holocaust machine. But this is not all. Lockheed Martin has government contracts altogether worth billions of dollars for, and then she has bullet points. The payload launch vehicle for the interceptor system, the space-based infrared high component, acronym is SBIRS, SBIRS. The theater high altitude area defense, THAAD, the very famous THAAD. The airborne laser, ABL, in partnership with Boeing and TRW. The Navy theater-wide system. The Medium Extended Air Defense System, MEADS, in partnership with Alenia of Italy and Daimler Chrysler of Germany. On the side, Lockheed Martin is also developing the capacity to conduct simulated nuclear tests in the Nevada test site with the Bechtel Corporation and receives $2 billion a year to run the Department of Energy's Sandia National Laboratory in New Mexico. So Bechtel runs Sandia National Laboratory in Mexico, folks. Wow. No wonder it's messed up. Two case studies, new subtitle. I once naively believed that the administration in power and Congress determined U.S. foreign policy. I was wrong. But here are but two examples of recent foreign policy deals orchestrated by the weapons industry. NATO expansion. During the Cold War years, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, was the military bulwark in Western Europe against invasion by the Soviet Union. Western European countries enjoyed protection under the American nuclear umbrella. If the Soviets invaded, America would use nuclear weapons to fend off the attack. If necessary, the U.S. would be prepared to absorb a nuclear attack on its own territory to defend its NATO's allies. I don't think Trump would say that anymore. Do you guys? The U.S. has always controlled the NATO alliance. When the Berlin Wall fell, the Bush administration promised Gorbachev that NATO would not expand into Eastern Europe if Russia would not oppose the admission of a unified Germany into the alliance. But when Clinton was elected, he decided to enlarge NATO in violation of President Bush's agreement. By welcoming the Czech Republic, Hungary, and Poland into NATO and arming these former Eastern Bloc countries, two of which directly adjoined the Russian border, America reestablished a hostile situation with Russia. The reason given was that a free market, democratic reforms would be consolidated, and an expansion of the market into former Eastern Bloc countries would benefit trade and the U.S. economy. But the truth was different. U.S. military corporations knew that U.S. military corporations knew that NATO expansion presented a huge market opportunity, and any new NATO country would be forced to upgrade its weapons systems to NATO standards. Lockheed Martin was well represented among the lobbyists. Bruce Johnson, a vice president, volunteered to become president of the U.S. Committee to Expand NATO, a lobbying and public education organization operating out of the offices of the American Enterprise Institute. This committee ran a series of ads in the congressional magazine Roll Call, stating that Americans agree on the NATO expansion. The Americans that they chose were Norman Schwarzkopf and three former secretaries of state, including Henry Kissinger. The Committee to Expand NATO delivered speeches, gave congressional briefings, published articles, produced white papers, and sponsored ad campaigns within the U.S., all promoting the widest possible expansion of NATO. In 1997, Norman Augustine toured prospective NATO countries and enthusiastically supported the entry of Romania into the club, a country that shares a long contiguous border with Russia and to which his company had already sold $82 million in radar equipment. Lockheed Martin, Textron, McDonnell Douglas funded organizations such as American Friends of the Czech Republic and foundations promoting Romania's entry into NATO. They also bankrolled a public referendum in 1997 in Hungary on NATO expansion and vigorously worked with the top leadership in Poland, the Czech Republic, Romania, and Hungary to convince them that the best way to gain U.S. support for entry into NATO was to buy American weapons. Despite official rhetoric to the contrary, the expansion of NATO was entirely about weapons sales, the bill for which will run into the range of $500 billion over 12 to 15 years. Wow. $2,500 for every American household, since America ends up bankrolling much of this military expenditure, and we probably spend more money now. Sales to foreign governments are particularly lucrative for weapons manufacturers, since by the time the weapons are ready for export, all research, development, and initial production problems have been covered by the U.S. taxpayer. But forcing the impoverished nations of the former Soviet bloc to buy sophisticated weapons as they experienced freedom was an act of cynicism and exploitation. Furthermore, it is unethical for any corporation, any foreign corporation or government to interfere with domestic politics of other countries. Remember the furor created when China was said to have contributed to Clinton's re-election campaign in 1996? I actually did not know that. In 1996, I was a D Democrat. That meant I went to the polls, and anybody that was a D, I voted for him. I had no idea who any of these guys was, except that Clinton looked like a snake, but I would never vote for a Republican, so I voted for him. In 1998, the Senate voted 81 to 19 to expand NATO, adding Poland, Hungary, and the Czech Republic. Romania did not make it on the list this round. Russia was understandably furious, regarding the U.S. as hostile and dishonest, and backed away from talks to reduce nuclear weapons. In April 1999, a lavish event was thrown in Washington, D.C., to celebrate NATO's 50th anniversary. International politicians and weapons makers mingled at the party that was funded by Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and United Technologies, each of whom donated $250,000. They spent $750,000 on a party? And there was an added cause for the celebration. The war in Yugoslavia was at its zenith. God. Although it would cost the taxpayers about $1 billion per month, it was good for corporate business. Replacement of lost Raytheon-made Tomahawk missile cruises used in battle. Each missile cruise cost $1 million to replace. And Lockheed Martin F-16 and F-22 fighter planes would provide billions of new contracts for the weapons makers. When Bush visited Europe in June 2001, he continued actively to promote NATO expansion. New subtitle. I wonder what time it is. No, we cannot be that late. 11:37. Well, you guys, I think I am going to stop. I know I didn't read very much of the book, but I read Carl Grossman's book, and I do want to do another little video and talk to all of my little tribe who follows me and listens to these books. So put your courage feet on, you guys, and really, you guys should really check out kepw.org online, because they have such interesting shows. It's very interesting. They get people that they talk about things that you just do not hear anywhere else. Anyways, Talk to you guys later. Ciao.